This podcast is a quest for well-being, a quest for a meaningful life through the exploration of fundamental truth. Enlightening ideas, insights on physical, mental, and spiritual health. The inspiration is love. The aspiration is to awaken new ways of thinking that can lead us to a new way of being well. Welcome to Body, Mind, and Soul Healing Conversations.
I found peace in being present. I realized I don't have to forgive myself for my past, as there was nothing to forgive. I finally understood acceptance. I accepted who I was. My past doesn't define me anymore. I love it. I appreciate it. I am not a victim of it. Valeria Teles interviews Kasia Nissanka, a certified life coach, MSc family psychologist, MSc occupational psychologist, and speaker. Kasia has been working within the mental health field since 2004. As a psychologist at the Social Services Center in Poland, she was helping those whose mental health struggles and illnesses made them unable to find a paid job. While supporting others in searching for their life purpose, she started questioning her own life's meaning. As a result, she decided to leave her old self behind and start a new life. She decided to give up her promising career as a psychologist in Poland and move to the UK. She found a job as a support worker at the Epilepsy Center. For over 8 years, she was supporting people with brain injuries to live independent lives. At the same time, she decided to return to her passion for psychology, and she undertook postgraduate studies in occupational psychology. It is during her MSc degree when she came across the idea of becoming a career coach. After graduating, she briefly practiced as a career coach at AMAC Organizational Psychologists. Empowering others to find and build their dream career became Kasia's mission at the time. At the same time, Kasia decided to fulfill her own long-time dream of becoming a mother. She took a career break to start a new family and spent 5 amazing years bringing up her 3 sons. Kasia decided to resume her career as a life coach in 2018, and she undertook a diploma in transformational coaching. It collided with another life and identity crisis, which made her question her life purpose and her mission. Through her own journey to healing, she realized that psychology itself was not enough to find her true self. She discovered that in order to achieve real changes in life, the work needs to be done on 3 levels, including mind, body, and the soul. This is the approach she adapted into her practice as a life coach and is now successfully using with her clients. Meet Kasia at kasianissanka.co.uk. Here's the interview with Kasia Nissanka.
In your own words, who is Kasia Nissanka?
Oh, okay. Wow. That's a great question. A question that I've been trying to answer myself for the last 40 years. We could probably spend the whole podcast just to try to answer this, right?
True.
I'm going just to answer it talking about the roles, my favorite roles in my life. So one of my favorite roles in my life, I must say, is being a wife, being a life partner to another amazing human being. And I love it so much because being a life partner to somebody, to that amazing person has, it's always been motivating me to become the best version of myself. Whilst at the same time, it has showed me many times the worst version of myself. But it's always been inspiring to actually go towards the direction of becoming my best self. And that relationship as well has actually made me fall in love with myself. So I choose to be, every day I choose to be a wife, I choose to be a life partner. And I have been for 15 years now. So that's one of the very important roles in my life. Another very important role in my life is being a mom. I am a mother to 3 little, sometimes crazy, little boys. And I love it so much because, being a mother, becoming a mother has taught me not even taught me, it actually has showed me what it feels like to love somebody unconditionally without an effort. I am a life partner, I am a wife, I am a friend, and I love friendships because friendships for me are about the true soul connection. And, because we're friends, I don't have that many responsibilities. It's different from the romantic relationship because we don't have, with my friends, there are no responsibilities like, paying the bill or thinking about what we're going to do the next day. So we can just focus on those deep, meaningful connections, conversations, and most importantly, fun, right? Yes, it's letting go of those responsibilities. And another role that I absolutely love in life is being a life coach. It's my job of working with other people, walking the path with other people who are on the journey to discover their true authentic selves. And watching those people doing it, connecting, growing, and becoming the best versions of themselves. Right. Yeah, so...
Yeah. That sounds wonderful to me. I love the comment you made about loving unconditionally without any efforts, not making an effort. That is what happens to mothers or parents, right, to their kids. I love this idea that if we could expand that to ourselves and others and life itself, that would be very interesting, the result of that, right, Kasia?
Definitely, because that's something that sometimes we have to put an effort in, especially in relationship to others that we meet on our journey or ourselves, right? But once you look at your baby, it just happens to you. It's a very different experience.
And when you say becoming your best self, what does it look like? What is the vision you have for becoming your best self?
Yeah. Wow, this is a very good question. This is a question that I usually ask other people. Yeah. And now you're asking me this question. I finally feel what my clients, what the people I work with feel like. It changes daily. And so it's basically what I look like if I could never fail, what I inspire to. So basically a person that is completely at peace, that is going for what I want, what I'm inspired to do. So that best version of myself is person who is connected most of the time to the authentic self. Confidence. So when you connect to your authentic self, it shows up as confidence in going after what you want in life. And changes daily. It's today the best version of myself is doing this podcast with you, overcoming my negative beliefs, overcoming negative thoughts. Not giving up.
So talk to me a bit more about what it means to be authentically confident and also about the book that you're writing about it.
So, basically when I talk about confidence, so first of all, why I chose this topic is because, when I work with my clients, they usually come to me to actually become more confident at something. When I ask them, what does it mean to you? So they usually say, well, I would like to become more confident at, building relationships with others. I would like to become more confident at work. I would like to be more confident at making decisions. And that lack of confidence is actually stopping them from doing what they want to do, from achieving their dreams. And when I ask them, what does it mean to be confident? They usually say, well, I want to behave a certain way. I want to, for example, walk into a room full of strangers and own it. I want to feel free to come up to a stranger and just have a free conversation without overthinking, without feeling stressed, without that negative beliefs creeping in and ruining for me. So confidence, in the old traditional approach, has those 3 levels. It's the behavioral level, so you behave certain way. It has this cognitive element as well, which is believing that you can do something well. And it has this emotional aspect of feeling good whilst you're doing something. So if I talk about confidence in the traditional way, I would say it's basically believing that you can do something and at the same time feeling good about doing it and then doing it successfully. But yes, what I add to it, there's one element missing in there, which is basically that spiritual aspect that I would like to make people more aware of. That spiritual aspect is the foundation of confidence. So my new definition of confidence, I would say, is actually confident. Being confident is being connected to your authentic self that inspires you to becoming the best version of yourself.
Talk to me for a moment about this self-esteem. We do talk a lot about that too. Is that somehow connected to being confident, authentically confident, or has nothing to do with self-esteem?
Self-esteem, definitely yes, because self-esteem applies to that cognitive aspect, your beliefs. And that's what's stopping people from being confident. It's at the very beginning, the definition I told you about believing that you are good at something. And that's when most people stop, because the truth is, we all have negative beliefs. And, in psychology, we call those negative beliefs life scripts. I don't know if you've heard that term before.
No, not yet. No.
So life scripts. So basically life scripts are the negative. They don't have to be negative, but because we talk about low self-esteem. So they are beliefs, basically beliefs about yourself or beliefs about other people or the external world that we have been taught in our childhood. And then they've been programmed into our brain. So, imagine the situation, imagine an example of a child who, for example, decides to ride a bicycle. And let's see, she or he, they think like, I'm ready to do it. And they jump on the bicycle and they ride it. But suddenly they fell and they hurt themselves. And then imagine their mom coming to them, and instead of giving them support, the mom starts shouting, well, I told you, you weren't ready to do that. You always hurt yourself. It wasn't a good idea. So in that moment, when you think about what that child has learned in that moment is, I never have good ideas. I make wrong decisions. I should listen to others. And very often parents as well criticize children in those specific situations. If a child is crying, how many times did we hear, stop crying, or others will laugh at you? So these are the moments when children learn, when I display my feelings, my emotions, others get angry, others judge me. So these are the beliefs that become your life scripts. So they're being programmed into your brain. So that child might not remember that specific event, but they will grow up with that belief that talking about your feelings or showing your emotions is not good. You shouldn't trust your decisions. You are not good at something, or you always have to be ready at something. So self-esteem is very important because that's the very important cognitive aspect of confidence, believing that you can do something.
Yeah, kind of reversing or changing, being aware of those limiting beliefs. Yeah. And I often wonder why it takes so long for us to become aware of them, Kasia.
Yeah, I mean, it's because they are in our subconscious.
Right.
So, it takes that one moment of realizing that those thoughts that you think about yourself, they are not always true. I remember that very specific moment when it happened in my life. And I realized that actually what I think about myself, it's not necessarily true. And it's a shocking moment. It's that moment of awareness and realizations. Plus, those thoughts, very often we are being taught or told to us by our parents or caregivers or people who were close to us when we were children. So there's this emotional attachment to those thoughts. We usually have love towards our parents. So that emotional that aspect of love, we attach to those thoughts. Plus, there is also very important but very dangerous element of comfort. Yeah. Yes, we feel comfortable because it's familiar this way. We grew up like that. So funny enough, like I always say my biggest enemy. I don't like this word, I don't like splitting words into enemies, and I don't like talking about fighting, but when I coach people, when I work with people, it's not anxiety, it's not lack of motivation or confidence, but comfort. That is the biggest problem at making changes, at starting to change.
It's true. It's these the misconceptions about love and about what is to be loved or to give love. And then we just live by those programs. Yeah, for me, it took almost 37 years to realize that.
Yes, it's amazing, isn't it? Because sometimes you feel like you're betraying somebody you loved by actually letting go of those thoughts, letting go of those habits.
Right. So it's a grieving state, even, right? Journey.
That's a very interesting way of looking at it. Yes, by Kasia.
How did you come to these understandings, Kasia, this wisdom? I would love to hear about your healing journey.
Well, so a few years ago, I myself went through a terrible life crisis. I basically tend to go through those periods in my life quite often. And what happened just before that, before my life crisis, my life seemed absolutely perfect. But I didn't notice at that time that I actually was completely disconnected from myself. And I trusted that what I've built was myself, was my true self, but it wasn't. So I went through a massive life crisis a few years ago, where everything that was giving me happiness, so my family, my husband, new friends, my life, I didn't realize that I was getting my happiness from it, not from myself. And at some point it stopped. And I experienced that terrible feeling of emptiness. Because everything else that was supporting me in life or making me feel happy suddenly stopped for some reason. I've reached that moment in my life when there was not much to look forward to. I've basically achieved everything that I wanted to achieve in my life. I always wanted to get married. I always wanted to have children. I always wanted to have a good job or discover my mission in life. And I had that. And then suddenly there was nothing more to discover. And that's when that hit me, that I couldn't find anything outside. And because I was empty, disconnected inside, I felt that emptiness. So I guess it's that, desperation or to find that happiness. And I tried by doing things outside, finding new friends, reaching out to other people to help me. And that was all very, very helpful. Seeing counselors, seeing therapists, seeing other life coaches. But funny enough, they all actually pointed out that one person who actually could help me, who was myself, that I have discovered only a few years ago that I had this strong belief that I was unworthy of love. And, I was getting that love from outside, from my husband, from my family, from my friends, but I never gave it to myself. So it was, a long, long journey, quite a roller coaster. And that's when I discovered and reconnected to my spiritual side, to my spiritual self. As a child, I actually grew up in a very religious family. And I always had that connection to God, to something higher, to something bigger. But I didn't really understand it that well then. So I guess I just rediscovered it now at a different level. I discovered that connection to something bigger. I call it universe, but some people call it God, source, energy. So I think it takes some sort of disconnection. Something has to break in order to find that connection.
And that's another question I ask. If we can learn these lessons without going through the hardships and the challenges, do you believe it's possible?
Well, I think it takes a lot of awareness. I think I believe we are aiming towards that direction, because I notice more and more people aware of that, aware of the fact that there's something more than just the physical world. I'm hoping that it is possible. I haven't experienced it myself. And I'm just thinking about all the people I know and my friends. And unfortunately, I don't know if it's unfortunately, we have this tendency to actually call pain or that it's something negative. We put those labels that something that is painful is negative, and anything else is positive. But maybe it actually should start there, from redefining pain, redefining that moment of disconnection, of something breaking in your life, right, as negative.
Right. I read something on your website. You write something really beautiful. You say, I found peace in being present. I realized I don't have to forgive myself for my past, as there was nothing to forgive. I finally understood acceptance. I accepted who I was. My past does not define me anymore. I love it. I appreciate it. I am not a victim of it. So beautiful and true. I'm so glad you got to that point. I was reading your story. I'm like, wishing for you to get to that point of liberation, really, in inner peace. Yeah, and for some reason, it goes back to self-love. It has been my journey. I had to learn to make the connection first, that understanding that not just that there was more in this life, but that's the only thing that there is really, that's real, is the spiritual realm. the reflection of it might be just the dream of that reality. But the spiritual reality is the only one that it is real. It is interesting that most of us don't see that. We try to live our lives without that component, or without the awareness of it. Not without it, because it's impossible to detach from it, but without the awareness. Just that's kind of that's a mystery to me.
That's very important what you say, because yes, it's always there, and it's not like people like this, I've just discovered it, or even saying about discovering your true self. It's always there. It's about that reconnection, right? So whether you believe it or not.
Right. I love that. Whether you believe it or not, right? Because it's not a belief system. It doesn't require beliefs. No,
it's like it's like you can say like I don't believe in gravity, but you still use it. It's just just about how you use it, how you're using it.
True.
Whether you're using it, being aware of it or not.
We cannot even use words to describe it.
It's actually what is left when you let go of that personality, when you let go of your identity. So what remains is that spiritual aspect, is that your true self.
That's where aliveness really is. That's when life becomes fun, from my perspective.
Yes, I'm so glad that you said that. I mean, I love all this philosophical talk and philosophy and reflections. But after all, I'm always asking myself, and I'm always asking the people that I work with, how much fun are you having doing whatever you are doing?
Right.
And when you go back to confidence as well, when you just think about, I am doing it for fun. I am going to have fun with it.
Yeah.
I find that makes people so much more confident at trying to do new things.
Yeah, that's a very good reference, isn't it, Kasia, to when we know that we are having fun, that we are here for the experience. We are not really attached to destination or anything else. We're just kind of, not just, it is a big deal to live the dream, in being at peace. And then from that peace, that inner peace, then this joy, this fun arises, really. That's when we are free, I say it, really. That's freedom to me.
Yes, I love it. I love what you said about joy as well. Because like very often people want to find things that will make them feel joy.
Yeah.
But once you connect to your authentic self, you find that joy within yourself. And then you actually give joy to whatever you're doing.
Yes, right.
It works the other way around.
Talk to me about the ego. What is your idea of what that is?
Oh, wow, ego. Ego. It took me a while to actually discover that, we all have our egos, right? So ego is everything that is actually the opposite of the real self, the authentic self. So ego is something that usually wants to disconnect you from others. Ego is it's all about the judgment. When you run your life from the ego place, it's all about I'm feeling better than others, or I'm feeling worse than others. It's in competition, so it's comparing. And ego is based on needs. It always wants to fulfill some sort of needs. So that's why it's completely different. It's from being your authentic self, because when you are attached to your ego, you will never be satisfied. You always have those unsatisfied needs. I think my definition of ego is that part of your life that wants to disconnect you from others, from the outside world, and disconnects you from your true self. So it's only when you let go of it, you can actually become authentic and authentically confident as well.
In a way, you actually suggest that we let go of the ego and not integrate it. Is that possible, Kasia, to let go?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I don't think it is possible. I think this is something that when you say let go, you can let go of it, but that doesn't mean it will disappear. I think the only way to let go of your ego is to observe it, is to be aware of it. So whatever you do in your life, is like ask yourself, am I acting here from my ego, from the place of my ego, from my ego needs, or am I being here my authentic self?
So asking questions and inquiry is really important. Self-inquiry. It's powerful, isn't it, to ask those questions?
It is, and it's a full-time job.
It is.
I think as long as we are being humans, as long as you're within your physical body, with your thoughts, with your emotions, we will never be free of that ego. So it's constant work.
So
constant,
true.
Yeah, becoming aware of every single time.
The outline that you sent to me, that you're writing for your book, I love the section 5, that might be the chapter 5, connecting to the authentic self, which has that suggestion about letting go of the ego. And then you have practicing presence, meditation, all these wonderful practices. With that in mind, we're almost at the end, but I have so many questions, other questions here. So let me ask you one more about presence. How do we know when we are present? Is that something that requires this intellectual reference? Oh, we are just present without any boundaries?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Like the moment you think about I'm being present, you're using your thoughts. So for me, presence is when it's complete letting go of those thoughts, getting out of, letting go of that, of your mind, of thinking, and switching on curiosity. So for me, the best way to connect to the present moment is become curious. Another way is letting go of a judgment. So even when you look at something thinking, oh, that's pretty, that's another form of judgment. So it's just allowing the presence, the being, looking around and just being, without attaching any labels to anything, without judgment, and letting go of expectation of what the present moment should look like. It's very difficult to describe, because describing a present moment is actually not being present.
Right. Contradicts the idea, right?
Yes,
right.
It's
so we cannot talk about it even. we can be present.
That's a conversation with actually enlightened people, because it's like the conversation is basically that. Let's just not talk about it. Let's just be present, right?
Yeah, right. And then whatever comes. Whatever we talk about, we talk about. I love that. Yeah, that sounds good to me. Although this sounding good to me is a judgment too of what's happening now. Oh my God.
Yes. Never ending cycle, right?
It is. It's this interesting dance. Very, incredible dance. So we're almost at the end. I have a few questions for you, the ending questions, Kasia. Would you like to add anything?
Well, no, it's been lovely talking to you, and I'm still in the brainstorming phase of writing my book. So every conversation, every question that you asked today was great, because it stimulated me to rethink, what I thought I already knew, and even talking about it. Sometimes talking about your thoughts, hearing your own thoughts, makes you realize, okay, is this really what I think? Is that really true? And seeing how it's being perceived by the person. It's great. So it's been just a great experience of, talking to you. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Kasia, for your wisdom and your presence. Thank you a billion times. And the ending questions are the idea of success. What is success? To be successful. from your perspective these days?
Yeah, well, I've been thinking about success a lot, and for me, successful is is the successful present moment. That's something that Eckhart Tolle said in his book, The New Earth, and it's basically what completely resonates with me. A successful present moment. Being at peace, feeling that happiness and inner joy here and now is a success.
So let me see. I'll ask you 3 more questions. What is another word for healing?
Oh, another word for healing. I don't know why the word of peace comes to my mind. Is achieving that acceptance and inner peace. And letting go would be another great word. Letting go of pressure it's going to sound funny, but letting go of the pressure to heal.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Letting go of that desperation to achieve that moment when you can say, oh, I'm healed. Just accepting that you are on your journey to healing. You are on your journey to your true authentic self. Yeah. That's healing itself.
So 2 more questions. If you knew you would die soon, meaning leaving the body, would you make any change or do anything a different way?
You know what? I love this question. I have been asked these questions before, and no. The answer is no, I wouldn't. And I think the moment you can answer this question, no, I wouldn't change anything, is that moment when you actually, achieve that peace, achieve that acceptance.
And my last question is, what are 3 things about life you know for sure as of this moment?
Wow, 3 things I know about life. Yeah. Well, life is constant change. Life is a constant growth. And you could never have expectations about life. So basically life is, you cannot predict what's going to happen. So unpredictable, changing.
Thank you so much, Kasia, for your presence, your wisdom, your healing wisdom. I love your peaceful way of expressing these understandings, these knowledge. It's very peaceful. Thank you so much again.
Thank you very much.
And before we say goodbye, where can we find more information about you, your products, services, and future projects, and your future book, of course?
Well, everything will be posted on my website, which is basically my name, kasianissanka.co.uk. And you can find links to my Instagram, to my Facebook as well there.
Wonderful. I'll have the link on your podcast profile. Thank you so much again, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you very much, Valeria. Take care.
You too, Kasia. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. To learn more about Kasia Nissanka and her work, please visit kasianissanka.co.uk. To learn more about this podcast, please visit fitforjoy.org/podcast. Thank you again for listening, and bye for now.